most watched news channel in Europe.
The Ballad of Andy and Barney. Andy and Barney were lawmen, bravest you ever did see. Warned every crook in the record book to stay out of Mayberry. They were the law.
Yes, they were the law, and they didn't know fear.
The Andy Griffith Show.
I guess to sum it up, you could say there's three reasons why there's so little crime in Mayberry. There's Andy, and there's me, and baby makes three.
Now on MeTV Fresno.
Hi, I'm John Malice. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. Hey, our media expert is in the house today to talk about a lot of different things, but mainly those presidential debates that took place last Thursday, of course, in the city of Cleveland. And the man who was sucking up all the air in the auditorium on that day, on that night, was Donald Trump. We have a new phone number, 265-4331. Urge you to call in and urge you to watch today's program. Back in a moment.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Back here on the program here on a Tuesday morning. It's on the air off the presses. Usually we do that segment on a Monday, but we decided to change format here this week specifically because of the debates. And yesterday we had the Goodwill people on. That was a terrific show. Today's show, of course, another good one, a barn burner. Hey, I want to remind you that we are on Comcast channel 187, 43.6 and 13.1, and now 8.1. That is live between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock in the morning. Then the replay comes later in the day, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, straight up at 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock at night, primetime, 4.6 Biz TV, and the Twitter account is at John Mallows, MeTV. All right, Dennis Hart is here. Good to see you, my friend. Good morning.
Yeah,
how are you?
Talk about, don't we?
Yeah,
we
do. I was on vacation, watched the debates, but some breaking news the last couple of days out of Ferguson. Dennis, I want to roll the videotape. Let's comment about this and talk about it during the monologue segment. In Ferguson, Missouri, it appears, Dennis, that police have lost control. That man on the ground, 18-year-old Tyrone Harris Jr., shot by plainclothes police officers who claim that he was firing on them during a disturbance. They had peaceful protests that turned violent. What's the state of our race relations in this country? What does this tell us 1 year after Michael Brown?
Well, I think what it tells us is that unfortunately we have a lot of people who hate each other because of the color of their skin. Here was this demonstration, allegedly going to be a peaceful demonstration, which turns violent. It wasn't the police who turned this violent. It was gangs starting to shoot at each other, and somebody shot at the police, and they fired back. And now, of course, we get into the traditional black versus white thing.
Again.
Yes, where it seems as if nothing has changed. And yet, in Ferguson, Missouri, let me point out that since last year, they have elected a black mayor. A black police chief has been appointed. Half the city council is black, and yet for some demonstrators, that is not enough. And nothing, the truth of the matter is, will ever be enough. Ferguson is trying very hard to reform itself, doing an exceptional job from every aspect, except, of course, now we have people who insist on creating confrontation, who insist on creating difficulties between races. These are race baiters on both sides, and that's what's happening in Ferguson.
Yeah, you have a black police chief now. He was being interviewed on live television when 50 shots, 50 rounds went off during the interview. He had this shocked look on his face. As of last night, they declared a state of emergency in St. Louis County. The emergency actually ordered by the county executive Steve Stanger, who ordered the county police to force to take control of that situation. But it appears they didn't have control of that situation on Sunday night.
Well, it's hard, of course, to anticipate there's going to be a riot when there's a peaceful march. Now, let's not blame the Ferguson police about this. Let's blame the people who caused this. Punks, perhaps of all colors, we don't know, but there are race baiters out there who are making a living on roiling things in that town. There's no question Ferguson had difficulties a year ago. Let's also remember that the officer, Darren Wilson, who shot Mike Brown a year ago, was exonerated not just by a grand jury, by the Justice Department of the United States. So the protesters who are still saying that Darren Wilson killed Mike Brown, they're wrong, okay? He was exonerated, but that doesn't matter to the
Was that
race baiters.
self-defense, do you think?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
because as it was shown, and again, this is Eric Holder's Justice Department in the United States, President Obama's Justice Department, who exonerated him, saying it appeared to be justified, and yet that's not good enough.
A black president, a black attorney general, Eric Holder, exonerated a white police officer.
That's right.
Let's make that clear.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to the people in Ferguson who are intent on nothing less than creating racial discord and indeed riotous situations. I blame them. They're doing it.
Before we move on to the next topic, the fact of the matter is in 2016 we are going to elect another president that is going to have to deal with race relations, black versus white in this country. If you were advising that new president that is going to walk into the Oval Office in 2017, January of 2017, what would you say to him?
Unfortunately, what I would say is that in some ways we have not grown from the time of the Civil War in this country, that parts of this country are unreconstructed, black and white in many ways, okay? The election of Barack Obama unfortunately brought out the worst in some white people in this country. Let's face it, the opposition to Obama in many cases is based upon his race. He's black. White people don't like that. Some people don't like that. On the other hand, now you've got blacks who are unhappy with Obama because he hasn't done all that they would like to have done. Most black people and most white people are good people, okay? There are some race baiters on both sides. There are black racists, there are white racists. The new president, whoever she or he is, going to have a very difficult time. We haven't progressed
How do you
in this
bring
country.
everybody together?
You don't.
Obama promised he would.
Well,
and
nobody
hasn't.
can. Nobody can, okay? No human being can. Some whites grow up hating the color of people, hating black people because they're black. How do you solve that? What
And
do you
vice
do that?
versa.
And vice versa. There is that. Nobody can bring people together completely in this
No
country.
one president can bring people together, do you think?
Have you ever seen it in your lifetime?
Did
I
John
haven't.
Kennedy not do that?
John Kennedy wasn't around long enough to do that. No, he wasn't. He was killed in his
Didn't
third
he
year.
bring people together, though? In a sense? in
During-
the short amount of time that he was in
during
office?
Kennedy's administration, we had Selma, Alabama. We had the civil rights marchers killed down in
Martin Luther King.
Yeah. Do you believe that was bringing people together? He did the best he could. Obama's doing the best he can. Unfortunately,
But it was relatively new
racial
back then.
Oh no, it went back 150 years. We fought the Civil War over slavery.
I'm talking about the civil rights movement was really just beginning at that time when Kennedy was in office.
Look
And
at-
Martin Luther King was just starting at that
right.
time.
But look at the racial divide that we have today. Just a few weeks ago, we're all at Twitter over the Confederate flag, which is still flying over South Carolina's Capitol grounds. Isn't that ridiculous? 150 years after the Confederacy was defeated, that flag, and it's a symbol of hatred. It's not a symbol of pride. There's nothing to be proud of. The South was trying to keep slavery going.
I'm not sure the Kennedy or even the Johnson administration knew how to deal with Martin Luther King because it was relatively new.
No. And Martin Luther King was he was the quintessential civil rights organizer. He did it exactly the right way. And
peacemaker.
And for his efforts, he was assassinated.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I know. All right, moving on. All right, this is one of my favorite topics of all time, and sad news. On Sunday morning, 84-year-old Frank Gifford passed away, natural causes. There he is there. Of course, graduated from Bakersfield High School, went to USC. He was a running back, number 16, played for the New York Giants, and then the voice of Monday Night Football that changed the face of television. Dennis, what can you tell us?
Frank Gifford is one of those rare people, a tremendous success on the football field, one of the greatest players in the history of the New York Giants, as we know. And he became one of the greatest sports broadcasters in the history of this country. There you go.
There they are.
Don Meredith, Howard Cosell, Frank Gifford. Monday Night Football changed football and television viewing forever in this country. Until then, everybody thought football in prime time would never work. They made it a television show and entertainment show. The football game was almost secondary, as you know. It was how Dandy Dodd was going to interact with Gifford, was going to interact with Cosell. It was raucous. It was outrageous. Everybody watched in the country. I grew up watching Monday Night Football, as you did.
As I did.
It was one of the great shows in the history of this country. It's gone now, of course, as we know, because ABC made the mistake of moving it to ESPN. and that forced Al Michaels and
Right.
John Madden to move to NBC, et cetera. And
I
now it's
know.
just another show on ESPN. But that show was outstanding, and those three were unparalleled as broadcasters, as communicators.
Yeah, put that trio up again, because I just want to tell a little story. By watching the movie that was circa 2002, Monday Night Mayhem, there was an incident in the booth because Frank Gifford was known as a play-by-play guy, but he was also known as giving misinformation, making a lot of mistakes. During one game, he called Thurman Thomas Thurman Munson, and Howard Cosell during a break. No, I mean, that's funny, right? Howard Cosell turned around to the floor director and he said, "Aren't you from Canton, Ohio?" He says, "Yes." "Wasn't Thurman Munson from Canton, Ohio?" "Yes." "Didn't Thurman Munson die in a plane crash in Canton, Ohio? And isn't he buried in Canton, Ohio?" And the floor director goes, "Yes." "Well, then how the hell is he making all these plays here tonight?"
There were so many great stories about Monday Night Football. When I was in Buffalo, New York, during part of my career as the assistant news director at WKBW, the ABC affiliate, Monday Night Football came to town in Buffalo for the Buffalo
Really?
Bills game. Yeah, but this was back in the '80s, and this was a very big deal when Monday Night Football came to town.
Oh, yeah.
You knew it was a big deal, okay? And I mean, those guys. They were too big to come around to our station, though we were the dominant station in the city, the ABC affiliate down in Buffalo. But that became the biggest story in town. It was the lead story on every
Weren't they,
newscast.
like, bigger than Hollywood stars?
Yes. It was legendary. When they came to town, women should run for cover because these guys were after every woman in town. Cosell was legendary. During one Monday night broadcast, the great story is, and it's been confirmed by Roone Arledge in his biography, that Howard Cosell got drunk at halftime and vomited on Don Meredith's boots during one of the shows, and Meredith made some comment on the air about Howard getting down to new lows or something like that. It was legendary. But those three were outstanding. There have only been three announcers in the history of Monday Night Football, play-by-play guys. You know who they are: Keith Jackson,
I know.
and Frank Gifford, and of course Al Michaels.
Al Michaels.
Three in the course of 40 years.
Yeah, they were more famous than the football players themselves.
by far.
By far, and they were as famous and more famous than those in some in Hollywood.
People watched that game not because of the game, because of that trio that we've had up on the screen. Those three were performers and entertainers. You had Monday Night Football parties. You had bars which would show Monday Night Football. I mean, it became
Remember
the number one
in
show
Denver,
in the
they'd
country.
throw the brick through the screen of the TV when Howard Cosell would come up?
Yes.
Remember that brick throwing?
You either loved or hated Howard Cosell, but here's the key, and this is what Roone Arledge knew, who put that group together. You watched.
Yeah.
You watched. Whether you loved or hated Howard Cosell, you watched him.
Chet Forty was the director of Monday Night Football.
Legendary.
Don Olmeyer eventually
Yes.
took over
Yes.
as the line producer
Yes.
of Monday Night
Yes.
Football when Roone Arledge stepped aside and actually moved up to what?
President of NBC
President
News,
of
ABC News, and
ABC
Sport.
News, yeah.
Roone Arledge put them together, as Roone Arledge put almost everything together at ABC in those years. World News Tonight with Frank
Peter-
Reynolds
and Peter Jennings.
and Peter Jennings and Max Robinson in Chicago. This week with David Brinkley, he put it all together.
Yeah.
And he was brilliant, and those three right there. And Frank Gifford is a loss. We don't know.
loss.
A big loss. He was one of the great voices, the legendary voices in the history of pro football in this country.
He was. Even though he made a lot of mistakes, it was part of Gifford's personality.
It was.
And Howard made a lot of mistakes too, but he wasn't there to analyze football. He
That's
was
right.
there to make comments that related to the game, but that were outlandish, and Dandy Don was there to have fun.
What Roone Arledge knew when he put this together was that people didn't watch football for the game. They wanted to be entertained. And those three did it in an unparalleled fashion. I looked forward, didn't even matter who was on. You could have the Buffalo Bills and the San Diego Chargers. Nobody cared.
No.
But you had Dandy Don, Howard, and Giff, and that's how they were known, right?
Yeah.
Dandy Don, Howard, and Giff. And you never were disappointed. They were always, and Gifford was basically there to mediate between Cosell and Meredith, right? When they got into their ridiculous comments, here's Giff saying, "Let's get back to the game here." And
All right, we're running long in this segment here. We did a little extended monologue with Dennis Hart about the two events, one in Ferguson, and Frank Gifford, formerly of Monday Night Football, passing away over the weekend. And now it's time to turn out the lights, as Dandy Don would say, on the monologue segment. We're going to come back and talk about the presidential debates that took place last Thursday, mainly Donald Trump, who is still, to this day, at this very moment, making news. We'll be back with your phone calls, 265-4331. Back in a moment.
Hello, I'm John Walsh. We need your help to capture this fugitive. Francisco Molina Nieve has been on the run since March 2008. The police and the FBI need your help tracking this coward down. He's wanted for brutally beating his girlfriend and for the use of a firearm. He has 3 freckles and a crescent shape under his right eye. Call the Colorado FBI at 303-629-7171 if you know where he's hiding.
Take a look at this. Let's play.
This is too hip for you. I'll slow it down.
Let's play.
Watch all your favorite classic game shows on Buzzer TV, KBBC Digital Channel 13.7.
All right, we didn't take any phone calls in that extended monologue with Dennis Hart talking about Ferguson and then Frank Gifford and Monday Night Football, but we do have a caller now. We are going to take calls from this point on because we're going to talk about the presidential debates that took place last week. More to come with the debates and Donald Trump. Caller, you're there. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is more a question for Mr. Hart over there. Something I didn't get to finish last time because you guys made me basically say, do you support Donald Trump or do you not? You know, and I really didn't have all the facts, but this is for you, Dennis. Okay. Do you support somebody that tells the truth and backs up their word? That's all I want to know. The debate means nothing to me because I already got my mind made up. But I just really want to see where you stand on that. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you for calling in.
Your question is more complex than you may think, but I'll answer it. I'm looking right at you now, whoever you are, caller, and thank you for calling. I always like people to tell the truth, but I also like people running for president who might be able to govern, who actually have experience in government and aren't blowtorching with a racist, sexist campaign, which is what Donald Trump is putting out there. He's running a protest campaign, and right now he's hijacking the Republican Party. Bear in mind that during the debate, he said he would not even obligate himself to support the Republican candidate. Now understand what that means. He's holding the Republican Party hostage. He cannot govern. He cannot possibly lead this country, but he's running a racist, sexist campaign, which is appealing to a lot of angry people out there who are angry about a lot of things that are going on. We'll get into that during the course of the show. Angry about gays being allowed to get married, angry about immigrants coming into the country. I understand that, but you really need to elect somebody who actually perhaps has some experience in it and who might be able to compromise, which I know is a very dirty word for a lot of people out there right now, but that's the essence of this country that we were founded on. So thanks for the question.
Another call. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Let me direct a question to Dennis now.
Thank you.
About the debate, there's too many on the floor, okay?
Yes.
And I think Kelly did do a better job. I think she could have done a better job as far as asking questions. Donald Trump was upset and whatnot, but that's him. He wants all this controversy, directed to him because he knows the issues, but he's not smart. I'm not saying he's dumb or smart.
No, he's smart.
But when it comes to political, an agenda or debating, he's in that field. I think maybe the 3 that I really liked, Jeb Bush and Scott Walker, and the only female that is running. I thought she really hit it out of the park. I could be wrong, and I forgot her name, but I think she might be the outside dark horse.
Carly Fiorina.
Right.
Carly Fiorina.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Okay, now, I have said, this is not the first time I've done this broadcast, as some of you may know. This is, I think, my 36th time on this show, and I have been pretty consistent in those 36 appearances about who I thought had a reasonable chance of getting the Republican nomination and winning, potentially, next year against Hillary Clinton. She's going to be the Democratic nominee. And those 3, I believe, are Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, and Scott Walker. Donald Trump is roiling the Republican campaign. He is destroying the Republican brand right now, and he's holding them hostage. If Donald Trump and I'll just say this and then you can respond to this, and I hope a lot of you will call in. If he succeeds in running as a third-party candidate, and I think he will, if he doesn't get the nomination, he will destroy the Republican Party because he will take all of those votes away from Republicans, as Ross Perot did when he ran against who in 1992, do you remember? It was Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush. Now here's Trump potentially running against Hillary Clinton and maybe Jeb Bush, destroying the Republican Party. Is that really who the Republicans want as their standard bearer? I don't think so.
All right, another call and a lot of more video to run here on the program.
Haven't run any yet.
Well, we did the monologue. Had nothing to do with Trump.
I can't even get to it. Yes.
No, we can't. No, but we have a call. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning. Thank you for calling again.
I agree with you about Cosell and Meredith and Gifford, and I think Frank Gifford was such a good-looking man, very handsome, good-looking man.
Well, he was, but of course that would be for you to say, not for me. So thank you for saying.
But I have a comment on Donald Trump.
Okay.
Among the Hispanic community or Latino community, he is being called boca de pescado.
What does that mean?
Fish mouth, because when he talks, he puckers his mouth. That's what they're calling him among, on the Spanish, like Telemundo and all those stations.
Let me ask you a question, caller. Can I ask you a question? All right. Here's the comment that I got when I was on vacation last week, and there is Donald Trump right there. Brash, of course, in your face, confident, as always, says what's on his mind. I heard someone say to me in San Diego, when I was in San Diego last week, he said to me, okay, John, on this immigration issue, is he not telling the truth? Who is Mexico sending us? Are they sending us CEOs, or are they sending us the worst of the worst? Now, I want to get the caller's comment on that particular quote. Are they sending us CEOs, or are they sending us the worst of the worst?
Well, the bad thing is that there's a lot of misinformation. Mexico is not sending the people here. The people are coming on their own because of the poverty, because of the corruption among the government. And that's why a lot of people are turning to the cartels. Even the police and the military are getting hired by the cartels. But Mexico is not sending anybody. They're all coming.
Stay on the line, caller. I want you to stay on the line and engage us in this. But, she's absolutely right. When that's a stupid comment. Are they sending us CEOs? Did any country in the world in the 1920s and 30s send us CEOs? Did Germany? Did Ireland? Did all those poor countries? No, those people came to this country for the same reason that most of the Mexican immigrants are coming, in order to better their lives. Some of them turn out to be bad people, just as some whites turn out to be bad people in this country. Some blacks, they just do. That's the way it goes. Every survey that's been done in the last few months shows that Mexican immigrants have a lower crime rate than whites do in this country, but we focus on the San Francisco killing as if that indicates that all of those folks coming up are killers. Well, that's obviously ridiculous, caller. I agree with you.
All right. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. And the thing is that what a lot of people don't understand.
Oh, I hope we didn't lose you.
Oh, I think we did, but that's okay.
Thanks for calling.
We have time to roll the videotape, but I got to go to break. All right. Let's talk about Donald Trump and the debate and Megyn Kelly. It's Trump versus Kelly right off the bat in the debate last Thursday night in Cleveland. Hey, it's the same arena where the Cavs play. It was packed. It was sold out, my friends. Had so many candidates on stage. It was a terrific debate on Fox News, but right off the bat, Megyn Kelly asked Donald Trump about his comments and degrading women. Here's the exchange you might recall.
One of the things people love about you is you speak your mind and you don't use a politician's filter. However, that is not without its downsides, in particular when it comes to women. You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't. Your Twitter account...
Thank you.
All right, Dennis, let's get the comment from you, and then we'll go to the caller.
That's obviously a sexist comment. Here's Donald Trump. This is a fascinating thing. Until Thursday night, white guys thought Fox News was the greatest newscast in the world, and Megyn Kelly was a hero. She was sexy, bright.
Where are you getting this information from?
From everybody who watches Fox News. Now, On Friday morning, Rush Limbaugh, who I listened to purposely on Friday morning to see his reaction, excoriating Fox News. For you folks in Rio Linda, that means he was criticizing Fox News and Megyn Kelly, asking Donald Trump an unfair question. Oh, piling on Donald Trump. All of a sudden, Megyn Kelly and Fox News is the enemy. And I saw some people, by the way, in the studio just laughing at that comment as if his comment on Megyn Kelly, and certainly what he said afterward, well, she's obviously bleeding from her eyes or wherever. And we all know what that meant. Well, obviously, that's ridiculous. Now, I understand there are white guys.
Trump.
I understand
He's brash and in your face.
I understand there are white guys out there who just love what Donald Trump is saying because, gosh, he's bashing all those Mexicans. And, gosh, he's bashing all those women because that's what you'd like to do out there, isn't it? A lot of you guys would love to do that. Is that the guy you want as president? Some of you do, because he's going to go and bash Mexico. It's so simple, isn't it? He'll just bash Mexico. He'll just make them pay for that fence. He'll just bash China, won't he? Because that's the way the real world works. We'll just bash Iran. Sorry, folks. That's really stupid stuff, and I'm sorry to see that people are supporting that.
All right, caller, what do you think? Do you agree or disagree with Dennis Hart, our media expert, my friend? He has 40 years plus experience in broadcasting. What say you?
Well, it sounds like he's not for Trump. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's not a matter of whether I'm for him. It's a matter of could he be a good president? The answer is no.
Well, I totally agree with you. He's a joke. He tried to extend his brand, and that's about it. And it's sad that the Republican Party is allowing him to be such a player in this whole thing. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. You know, it's fascinating to me that every caller so far has been against Donald Trump, and yet he is leading in the Republican Party polls. He's got 23-24%, because there are people out there, caller, and I think you'd agree, who are really angry about what's happened in the country, and they feel powerless. And here's this guy, Trump, and somehow they identify with this billionaire who doesn't give a darn about anybody who's not a billionaire, who is corrupting, essentially, the political debate by saying stupid things and having know-nothing supporting him, and it's working. Meanwhile, guys like Jeb Bush, Scott Walker, Marco Rubio can't gain any traction, and they actually have ideas on how to govern. Trump is a protest candidate.
Right.
He has not made one specific policy proposal. You have no idea where he stands on ISIS. You have no idea what his real immigration plan is other than, I'm going to make Mexico build a wall. No, he's not. No, he's not.
Hey, I got to go to break, but I will say this before I go to break. All right, Donald Trump, as we know, is in your face all the time. He is leading in the polls by the latest poll that I saw yesterday, 24%. Jeb Bush, 12%. Carly Fiorina, 6%. Those are the top three. I heard Rush Limbaugh today on the way into work. He said he saw one poll where Donald Trump is leading with 32%. Now, call in 265-4331. If Donald Trump was here, he'd say, you know, John Malos, I really love you. I've supported you. I've given you money. But quite frankly, you're stupid. Okay, that's Donald Trump.
He would say that.
He would say that.
He would say that.
All right, 265-4331. We don't think anybody is stupid. We're back in just a moment.
Attention all units. We have reports of 2 motorcycle cops protecting California's highway.
That's for us, good buddy.
The Men of Chips are on MeTV.
Hi, I'm John Baker. I'm John Baker. It's Officer Baker.
He's the blonde one.
Hi there.
Officer Poncherello, ma'am.
Frank Poncherello.
Oh, I'm Frank Poncherello.
And he's the one who's Eric Estrada.
There's no way I wouldn't remember a name like that.
Catch the blonde one and the one who's Eric Estrada.
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump, to be clear, you're standing on a Republican primary debate.
I fully understand.
The place where the RNC will give the nominee the nod.
I fully understand.
And that experts say an independent run would almost certainly hand the race over to Democrats and likely another Clinton. You can't say tonight that you can make that pledge?
I cannot say. I have to respect the person that if it's not me, the person that wins. If I do win and I'm leading by quite a bit, that's what I want to do. I can totally make that pledge. If I'm the nominee, I will pledge I will not run as an independent. But and I am discussing it with everybody, but I'm talking about a lot of leverage. We want to win, and we will win. But I want to win as the Republican. I want to run as the Republican nominee.
So here's what's wrong. He buys and sells politicians of all stripes. He's already, hey, look, he's already hedging his bet on the Clintons, okay? So if he doesn't run as a Republican, maybe he supports Clinton, or maybe he runs as an independent. Okay. But I'd say that he's already hedging his bets because he's used to buying politicians.
Well, I've given him plenty of money.
Just to be clear, you can't make it. We're going to move on. You're not going to make the pledge tonight.
I will not make the pledge at this time.
There we go, Dennis. Go ahead and pick it up.
Think about what this means. Donald Trump is unwilling to say that if he doesn't get the nomination, he will support the Republican candidate. He is essentially saying, I'm going to destroy you in the general election if you don't give me what I want.
He wants to win.
He will lose, of course, in the general election, running as a third-party candidate. He will elect Hillary Clinton, and yet Republicans are buying into that. It's remarkable to me.
Who's buying into it?
Jeb Bush? About 24% of the Republican population. That's who supports him.
All right.
They're apparently buying it. So let me be very clear on this. And you know, if you've watched this show over the last 3 years, I'm not a Hillary Clinton supporter. None of you can say I am. But let me guarantee you this. Should Donald Trump run as a third party, he elects Hillary Clinton. He does. Is that really what Republicans want? I guess.
All right, caller, you've been very patient, and I appreciate it. Go ahead, you're on the air.
No, I like the Ohio governor for the
John Kasich.
Yeah, but I think he was one of the better qualified.
You're right.
But he doesn't have the microphone to do anything.
Correct.
And also, one thing I tend to disagree with you is that I think, Dennis, that there will be Joe Biden that Hillary will have to run again. I think he'll come in there and try to be the cleanup candidate in within about 2 months. He'll get heavily involved, and they're going to look at, it's the same old, and he's going to pull people from Trump and all the other disenchanted people that have maybe some brains still. And that's about it. I'm not saying I'm for him or against him, but I think he will have the opportunity to be coming up. That's it.
Thank you for that comment. I don't think Joe Biden's going to get into the race unless Hillary Clinton in Iowa and then New Hampshire she has to win those states, and she will win those states against Bernie Sanders. But remember what happened in 1968 with Eugene McCarthy and Lyndon Johnson in New Hampshire. The incumbent president, Eugene McCarthy, running as the Democratic challenger. McCarthy did not beat Johnson in New Hampshire, but Johnson didn't win by as much as the incumbent should have won. If Hillary Clinton doesn't win Iowa and New Hampshire by as much as the political class thinks she would, I think the Democrats could panic. And at that point, I think Joe Biden could jump in. Before that, I don't think so, because she's winning every poll. She's beating Bernie Sanders by 35 points nationally. She has no competition at this point, okay? She's the nominee. Unless she falters and doesn't win by quite enough, then Joe comes in, and then I think it could be interesting. I agree. It could be interesting.
All right. Caller, you've been patient. Go ahead.
Dennis, let me ask you a real quick question. Who do you think would be the running mate with Hillary? And do you think those issues that the Benghazi and other issues, texting and all that, will hurt her chances of becoming president?
No, Benghazi will not hurt her, because the only people who are upset about that are Republican candidates against her, right-wing talk radio. They're not going to support her anyway, no matter what she does. As far as her running mate, that's a great question. It has to be a man. She's not going to have a female running mate. At this point, it's really hard to say. It's obviously not going to be Bernie Sanders. He's a socialist. It's not going to be Martin O'Malley. It's not going to be John Chafee, who are running against her. I don't know. It's a great, great question who her running mate will be. But my guess is it would be a man in his 40s, probably a moderate to right, Democrat, could be a governor, could be a Democratic governor, but I don't know at this point. Great question. Right. I just admit to you I don't know.
Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to know, with all of the political spotlight being on Donald Trump, what he would do for our children instead of being a womanizer.
You mean Trump is a womanizer? Trump, yes, he has been a womanizer. And that's a very interesting thing, of course, because right-wing talk radio has always excoriated Bill Clinton for being a womanizer. Donald Trump is even more so, as you well know, but that doesn't seem to bother them because he's ripping now the traditional class. We don't know what Donald Trump would do for children. We don't know what he'd do for women, except, of course, be misogynist. We don't know anything about what he'd do because during the debate, he didn't have a single substantive proposal, did he? We have no clue where he stands on anything.
I don't think any of them did. I don't think any of them did.
Yes, we did. We heard about...
Who?
We heard... Well, I'm going to answer you.
All right.
We heard about Marco Rubio, who said, oh no, women cannot get abortions even if they're raped or the victims of incest. We heard Scott Walker say that.
I had this argument
What Trump... Hang on. What Trump is saying, what Trump is forcing the Republicans to do is he's putting them in a box.
First of all...
He's putting them in a right-wing box, and the only guy who's not in the box right now is Jeb Bush, and that's why talk radio hates Jeb Bush, because he's talking moderately on immigration, moderately on most things. He'd be the best candidate. It may or may not happen.
I wish the topic of abortion would be taken off the table during the debates.
But it's not.
But Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong. Whoever gets in 2016 cannot change Roe v. Wade.
You are correct.
It makes no difference what they think about abortion or a woman's right to choose. It doesn't make a difference.
Who has brought up abortion in the last 3 weeks? It's the right-wingers talking about those videos from Planned Parenthood.
But you know what? The left-wingers talk about it too, so do the Democrats. That's their social issue.
You are correct. Abortion, I hate to tell everybody here, is a settled issue. It's settled. Women have a right to an abortion. The Supreme Court has decided, and gay marriage is a settled issue.
Hang on, caller,
folks.
hang on.
And that's why you're absolutely correct. I agree with you. All of these are side issues fighting the culture wars again. It makes the Republicans look ridiculous.
I don't want to hear about abortion. It's a done deal.
I agree.
You can't change it. So let's move on to Iran. Let's move on to race relations. Let's move on to the economy. I don't want to hear about abortion.
I cannot disagree with you on that.
Roe v. Wade was settled years ago.
And yet we continue to have talk radio running the Republican Party, bringing up abortion every day.
Fine, but the Democrats do too. So do the liberals, Dennis, and I'm tired of hearing about it.
I agree with you. It's a settled issue.
Caller, are you tired of hearing about abortion too?
Well, I'm pro-life, but I'm concerned with all the advertisement that Mr. Trump's getting and the other Republican parties that are trying to do the same job he is. To be nominated for our Republican voters can make their decision. We need to focus on some of the other political parties that are running with him instead of putting him in the spotlight 24/7 because he's used to being on camera.
You are so right, caller. And all of the callers so far, of all the callers, none have been Trump people. They've all said he's ridiculous, and yet he's leading in the Republican polls. Caller, you are right. And here's why the media focus on Donald Trump. Because he's irresistible. Because here's a guy making outrageous statements. He's larger than life. He says stupid things. And the political class in Washington, and I agree, by the way, with Rush Limbaugh on this, the political class does not understand his appeal. Nothing in their playbook, and by the way, I've covered politics for 40 years, locally and nationally. Nothing in my playbook has ever seen anything like Donald Trump. By now, he should have been destroyed. By now, he should have been discredited. Because the dumb things he said, John McCain is not a hero. Mexican immigrants are rapists. You've got blood, Megyn Kelly has blood coming out of her eyes, and who knows where, and we all know what that meant. That should have discredited him. Instead, it has empowered him to a segment of the population, and I'm going to give this segment its due right now. They feel disenfranchised. They feel like every politician lies. They feel like every newscast, and now Fox News is included in that, lies to them. Because they feel the country has gone out of their control, and you know it has. Gay marriage is now allowed, and they hate that. blacks have some rights, and they just hate that. I understand where that's coming from. But you know what? For the country to survive, these folks have to be, I guess, disenfranchised, because they would lead the country down to ruination. They really would.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, regarding Hillary Clinton about Bosway and also the FBI investigating now.
Yes.
All the emails. And why don't you bash her of all the illegal stuff she has passed, all the Clintons.
Okay, here you go. You ready for it? Here we go. I am not a Hillary Clinton fan. I think that the Clintons have always operated in what I call a skeezy level, which is the rules really don't apply to them. Yes. Do I think that Hillary Clinton has hidden things on her email account? Of course I do.
And don't you think Benghazi is a legitimate investigation by Congress?
Probably.
Forget about
here's the deal.
radio.
But here's the deal. Okay, here's the deal on Hillary. Nobody in the Democratic Party, and they're the majority party in the country, cares about her emails. Nobody, everybody thinks it's a right-wing trap on this Benghazi situation, okay? Let me reiterate that every poll shows if the election were held today, she would win it against any Republican. Donald Trump, she'd wipe up off the face of the map.
We don't know
He's
that.
not, sure we do, because Donald Trump, is he getting any women's votes? No. Is he getting any black votes? No. Is he getting any Hispanic votes from what he said? No. Who's he getting? Disaffected
he's
white
leading in the
males.
polls 24-12 over Bush.
That's the Republican side.
understand
It doesn't
that.
include the majority party in this country, the Democrats.
I don't know. Okay.
I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan, but I'm just laying it out there. Yeah, she has problems. Of
But I
course she
think
has
that
problems.
these investigations with the emails and with Benghazi are legitimate. They're not to be tossed aside. We got to take a break. 265-4331. We should not give Hillary Clinton a pass on the emails or Benghazi.
Wait, have I given her a pass on
No,
either one of those?
no,
I've criticized her for it.
All right. Got to go. Take a break. Back in a moment.
So, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration, Chris. You wouldn't even be talking about it. This was not a subject that was on anybody's mind until I brought it up at my announcement, and I said, Mexico is sending. Except the reporters, because they're a very dishonest lot, generally speaking, in the world of politics, they didn't cover my statement the way I said it. The fact is, since then, many killings, murders, crime, drugs pouring across the border, our money going out and the drugs coming in. And I said, we need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly. And I don't mind having a big, beautiful door in that wall so that people can come into this country legally. But we need, Jeb, to build a wall. We need to keep illegals out.
Mr. Trump, I'll give you 30 seconds. I'll give you 30 seconds to answer my question, which was, what evidence do you have, specific evidence, that the Mexican government is sending criminals across the border? 30 seconds.
Border Patrol, I was at the border last week. Border Patrol, people that I deal with, that I talk to, they say this is what's happening because our leaders are stupid, our politicians are stupid, and the Mexican government is much smarter, much sharper, much more cunning, and they send the bad ones over because they don't want to pay for them, they don't want to take care of them. Why should they when the stupid leaders of the United States will do it for them? And that's what's happening, whether you like it or not.
Dennis,
let's analyze
Dennis,
that.
Dennis,
Let's just
Dennis,
analyze.
no, I just want to say this. I have to say this. Dennis, I love you, I support you, but quite frankly, you're stupid.
You know, let's parse that. Shall we parse that from the Donald? What did we have in there? We had racist comments about the Mexican government sending their rapists over. What else do we have? the United States government and all of its politicians are stupid. That's right. That's a presidential candidate. He has some solutions, don't he? He wants to build a wall. Now, what have we heard about that wall? Have we heard who would build it? Who would fund it? Where the money would come from? Since the Donald apparently doesn't want to spend a lot of money except his own, is he going to build that wall? It would cost $6, $7, $8 billion.
He could afford to pay for the wall.
I mean, honestly, I love this stuff, and I love all the callers we've had, none of whom are supporting Trump. But
so far.
But honestly, folks, aside from being a cartoon show, is this a presidential campaign? No. It's a protest. The Republicans right now are not running a governing campaign. It's a protest against all the things that these people don't like about what's going on. It's not a way to govern. Can't govern that way.
Let's take a call. Go ahead. You're on the air, caller.
Yeah, I've been watching Donald Trump and some of his stuff on YouTube, and I don't know so much about the Latino vote, but there is a huge segment of the colored Afro-Americans that said they would for sure vote for Trump if he could guarantee that he would lock up Obama for being a domestic terrorist.
Well, yeah, that's... Caller, I don't know what to make of that. That's just kind of a dumb thing, but...
We're sounding like Trump now.
No.
Like Trump.
No, but I mean, obviously that's not a serious comment, but in all seriousness, and I know I've been kind of vigorous against Donald Trump, only because, and I think he's great theater, wonderful theater, but as a serious candidate for the presidency, the Republicans have serious candidates out there, and they can't get any energy right now.
Right.
We talked about Carly Fiorina. She won the first debate that afternoon. She wiped the floor with the guys who
Too bad nobody saw it.
Right. Now, can she win the presidency? Absolutely not. No, she cannot, because she has no governing experience. She was a disaster as the CEO of Hewlett-Packard, but she has ideas, and her ideas can't get out there because of Donald Trump.
I want to jump ahead. Chris Christie versus Rand Paul in the debate last Thursday night in Cleveland. Okay, Rand Paul had this exchange with Christie about national security, and man, they went at it toe-to-toe. If they'd had a pair of boxing gloves on, they probably would have duked it out. I want to recap this. Take a look.
Because I'm the only person on this stage who's actually filed applications under the Patriot Act, who have gone before the federal, the Foreign Intelligence Service Court, who has prosecuted and investigated and jailed terrorists in this country after September 11th. I was appointed U.S. Attorney by President Bush on September 10th, 2001, and the world changed enormously the next day. And it happened in my state. This is not theoretical to me. I went to the funerals. We lost friends of ours in the Trade Center that day. My own wife was 2 blocks from the Trade Center that day at her office, having gone through it that morning. When you actually have to be responsible for doing this, you can do it, and we did it for 7 years in my office, respecting civil liberties and protecting the homeland. And I will make no apologies ever for protecting the lives and the safety of the American people. We have to give more tools to our folks to be able to do that, not fewer, and then trust those people and oversee them to do it the right way. As president, that is exactly what I'll do.
Megan, may I respond?
Go ahead, sir.
I want to collect more records from terrorists, but less records from innocent Americans. The Fourth Amendment was what we fought the revolution over. John Adams said it was the spark that led to our war for independence, and I'm proud of standing for the Bill of Rights, and I will continue to stand for the Bill of Rights.
And Megan, that's a completely ridiculous answer. I want to collect more records from terrorists, but less records from other people. How are you supposed to know, Megan?
Use the Fourth
What are you supposed
Amendment.
To? How are you supposed
Use
to?
the Fourth
no, I'll
Amendment.
tell you how you
get a warrant.
Let me tell you something.
Get
you
a
go
judge to sign
when
a warrant.
Senator.
Wait, Governor Christie, make your point.
Listen, Senator, when you're sitting in a subcommittee just blowing hot air about this, you can say things like that. When you're responsible for protecting the lives of the American people, then what you need to do is to make sure that you use the system the way it's supposed to work.
Wow, good thing they didn't have swords.
Yeah,
huh?
I thought Chris Christie was right on that one. I think he just took Rand Paul out. Look, Rand Paul isn't anywhere close to the Republican base on this, and he's not close to where I am. In order to fight terrorism, you have to have some tools. Rand Paul wanted to eviscerate the National Security Agency. He seems to be paranoid about people somehow searching his emails or whatever. I think Christie's right. I think that
Rand Paul's a paranoid guy.
He is. I think Christie that was his finest moment on the debate. And you know,
he's got no shot.
No, I wouldn't mind seeing him in the campaign. I think he would be a potentially decent campaigner, but I agree with you, he has no shot.
All right. We talked about abortion just a little bit. We touched on it. All right. Mike Huckabee talking about abortion and the woman's right to choose, or does she have that right? Here's what Mike Huckabee had to say about a woman's right to choose and abortion during the debate, stirring up some controversy.
Chris, I disagree with the idea that the real issue is a constitutional amendment. That's a long and difficult process. I've actually taken a position that's bolder than that. A lot of people are talking about defunding Planned Parenthood as if that's a huge game changer. I think it's time to do something even more bold. I think the next president ought to invoke the 5th and 14th Amendments to the Constitution, now that we clearly know that that baby inside the mother's womb is a person at the moment of conception. The reason we know that it is because of the DNA schedule that we now have clear scientific evidence on. And this notion that we just continue to ignore the personhood of the individual is a violation of that unborn child's 5th and 14th Amendment rights for due process and equal protection under the law. It's time that we recognize the Supreme Court is not the supreme being, and we change the policy to be pro-life and protect children instead of rip up their body parts and sell them like they're parts to a Buick.
All right.
So you asked who brings it up during the Republican debate. Mike Huckabee brings it up. Okay, let's clarify, and you and I agree on this. It is a settled issue. The Supreme Court is not the supreme being. It is the supreme law of the land. That's, the Republicans are so hyped on the Constitution. That's how the Constitution set this up. The Supreme Court gets to decide, ultimately, what's legal and what's not. It has been decided. A woman has a right to an abortion. End of story, Mike Huckabee. End of story, Rubio. End of story, folks. Get off it. Let's get on to something else.
But let me ask you something that's a legitimate complaint and concern and cause for debate, and that is Planned Parenthood. Should we be giving tax dollars? If I disagree with abortion, should I be allowed or forced to give my tax dollars to Planned Parenthood? They support abortion.
Well, you disagree.
Let's take the tax dollars out of it. Would we agree with that?
Well, you disagree with a lot of things, and so do I, that the money may go for. But our whole point of government in this country is that we band together with our taxes to support the better goals. Now, if you defund Planned Parenthood, understand what happens there. Okay?
With tax dollars. How about privately funded?
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. I won't go against that. But there's a downside. Planned Parenthood only has 600 or 700 offices across the country. And the truth of the matter is that if women did not get services from Planned Parenthood, they're still going to get abortions. Right. I hate to tell folks this. Women have gotten abortions forever, and they're going to continue to do it, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not. They will just do it in a back alley. Is that really where we want in the 21st century?
I'm going to say one more thing about this, and it's true. Republicans are against abortion, but they favor executions.
Right.
And with the liberals, the Democrats, they favor abortion, and they're against execution.
Right. In other words, what you're saying is there's absolutely...
There's no consistency.
There's no consistency whatsoever.
Right.
You're absolutely correct. It's okay for Republicans to execute adults, but not children, right?
And with Democrats, vice versa. All right. Jeb Bush, let's move on. He was asked during the debate, did his brother, George W. Bush, make the right decision by going into Iraq?
Knowing what we know now, with faulty intelligence and not having security be the first priority when we invaded, it was a mistake. I wouldn't have gone in. However, for the people that did lose their lives and the families that suffered because of it, I know this full well, because as governor of the state of Florida, I called every one of them that I could find, to tell them that I was praying for them, that I cared about them, and it was really hard to do. And every one of them said that their child did not die in vain, or their wife or husband did not die in vain. And so why it was difficult for me to do it was based on that. Here's the lesson that we should take from this, which relates to this whole subject. Barack Obama became president, and he abandoned Iraq. He left, and when he left, Al-Qaeda was done for. ISIS was created because of the void that we left.
See, there's the man I think should be the Republican nominee for president, because I think he's the most rational, the most reasonable, the man best capable of governing. It's just a question of, will the Republicans wake up, will they open their eyes, or will they still follow this idiot Trump who's making all the headlines?
Truth be told, Obama did abandon Iraq. That's why we have the problem with ISIS now. And I agree with Jeb Bush, and he disagrees with his brother in going to Iraq in the first place.
But remember, and I've said this before on the show, the reason Obama abandoned Iraq is because he was elected to do that. He ran an anti-war campaign. He followed through on it, and now he's being excoriated.
All right, John Kasich, you don't think he has a shot? He talked about gay marriage during the debate last Thursday. Let's listen to John Kasich. He is the governor of Ohio, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Governor Kasich, if you had a son or daughter who was gay or lesbian, how would you explain to them your opposition to same-sex marriage?
Well, look, I'm an old-fashioned person here, and I happen to believe in traditional marriage. But I've also said the court has ruled.
But how would you explain to your child?
Megan, the court has ruled, and I said we'll accept it. And guess what? I just went to a wedding of a friend of mine who happens to be gay. Because somebody doesn't think the way I do, doesn't mean that I can't care about them or I can't love them. So if one of my daughters happened to be that, of course I would love them and I would accept them, because you know what? That's what we're taught when we have strong faith. So issues like that are planted to divide us. I think the simple fact of the matter is, and this is where I would agree with Jeb, and I've been saying it all along, we need to give everybody a chance, treat everybody with respect, and let them share in this great American dream that we have, Megan. So, look, I'm going to love my daughters. I'm going to love them no matter what they do, because you know what? God gives me unconditional love. I'm going to give it to my family and my friends and the people around me.
Good for John Kasich, a completely rational, reasonable comment. That's why he has no chance to get the Republican nomination.
Right. Marco Rubio, you think he's got a shot? I don't think he has any traction. I don't think he has a shot. Let's listen to what he had to say during last Thursday's debate.
Let me begin by saying this. I'm not new to the political process. I was making a contribution as the Speaker of the third largest and most diverse state in the country well before I even got into the Senate. I would add to that this election cannot be a resume competition. It's important to be qualified, but if this election is a resume competition, then Hillary Clinton's going to be the next president, because she's been in office and in government longer than anybody else running here tonight. Here's what this election better be about. This election better be about the future, not the past. It better be about the issues our nation and the world is facing today, not simply the issues we once faced. This country is facing an economy that has been radically transformed. You know, the largest retailer in the country, in the world today, Amazon, doesn't even own a single store, and these changes have been disruptive. They have changed people's lives. The jobs that once sustained our middle class, they either don't pay enough or they are gone, and we need someone that understands that as our nominee. If I'm our nominee, how is Hillary Clinton going to lecture me about living paycheck to paycheck? I was raised paycheck to paycheck.
You know, it may be that this is not his time. It may be 4 years from now, but I like Marco Rubio because he's young, he's energetic, he's had governing experience. I think the Republicans ought to look at him closely, but I don't know that they will.
Yeah, and he was talking about why he's more qualified than Jeb Bush.
Right.
Put up the picture of Rosie O'Donnell, Donald Trump. Are we going to revisit this? Well, Trump did during the debates last Thursday. There it and the picture of Megyn Kelly. Quickly, Dennis, in 10 seconds. Okay. Where's Megyn Kelly? How's this going to turn out with Megyn Kelly of Fox News? Let's put her picture up for 10 seconds.
Well, all of a sudden, Megyn Kelly, who was the love child of all the conservatives, now is the hate child because she had the temerity to ask the Donald some very tough questions. It's remarkable. I mean, the right-wingers just don't want to hear. They don't even like Fox News now, which is their organ.
You like that pose on Megyn?
I like Megyn for a lot of reasons. The reason I like Megyn, you know why I like Megyn? She's smart. She's really smart. Good to be here.
So's Donald Trump.
Let's do it again next time.
We will. Right? We will. Dennis Hart, thank you much. Back tomorrow with another edition of Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. Have a good day.